Yeah, man. Episode 1 of Musicology. You know, your man Teasy, the ROH Pure Champion, man. You already know.
Did I say you can hold my championship?
My bad. Musicology, Episode 1. Lee Moriarty.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, weighing 191 pounds, Tiger Style, Lee Moriarty.
This is the first time we are seeing Lee Moriarty compete one-on-one since joining the firm. There you see Stokely Hathaway and, of course, W. Morrissey, also members of this organization that Stokely has put together.
And his opponent, Fuego del Sol.
So what's going through your mind when you like going down there? How do you tune everything out? How does that work?
Kinda, yeah. So I've had a lot of times where people I know have been in the crowd and I can't see faces because I'm so zoned in on the match in the moment that I only see my opponent. I only see that ring in the center, what I'm trying to do, what I'm focused on getting to in that match. I don't really see crowds. I don't hear noise often. There's sometimes I'll hear the chants, but for the most part, I'm zoned in. I'm focused.
Bro, that's the thing. Like in relation, like with me with music too, is that when I'm performing, a lot of times I get like sometimes I get jitters and things like that. But when the music starts playing and I'm on stage and I like the DJ starts playing, I zone out. And also too, I have a funny thing when I'm performing. I can't look people directly in their eyes. Because I'm like, especially if she's a good looking woman or something like that. I'm gonna be lost. So I gotta look at the top of foreheads.
Yeah.
That's the trick that I learned when I started performing. When I started rapping, I'm walking around. I'm doing my thing. I have to look at the top of foreheads. I can't look people directly in their eyes. But so how does it feel, man? You are the new ROH Pure Wrestling Champion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You are a black man, another champion in the wonderful company. Yeah. You are now the flag bearer of Pure Wrestling in ROH AEW. How does it feel, bro? Has it settled in yet?
To an extent, it has settled in, but I feel like there's still a lot I need to accomplish with this championship.
Yeah.
Getting to the match was one thing. Winning the championship is another thing. Now I have to defend it. Now I have to elevate this championship because that's what I said I was going to do. I said I was going to usher in a new era of the Pure Division.
Right.
I felt like for a period, the Pure Division was kind of here. It was on this steady pace, which is not bad, but I want to elevate it to a higher level. When you look at the history of the people who have held this championship, from Bryan Danielson, Samoa Joe, Nigel McGuinness, AJ Styles, all these guys that are going to be legends or already are legends of professional wrestling, they've influenced what wrestling is today, and I want to live up to that, and I want to uphold this championship to an extremely high standard.
That's the thing, man, and is not only understanding winning, but understanding the responsibility that comes with it. Because me as a musician, I feel like I always have a responsibility. Yeah. Especially with me being in the wrestling lane so long, I feel like now as like the OG in it, I have like a certain responsibility at a certain point now in my career, as in understanding what is it that I want to do, what is it that I feel like I need to do, and how can I creatively challenge myself. And now it's great because in competition sense, you got a target on your back now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody wants that belt. Everybody wants to be the man. Now you're the guy that's carrying this great legacy. So, you know, are you ready for the competition? Are you ready? Do you feel like you're ready for that next step, saying, look, anybody that want it can get it? Or do you feel like it's in the sense of, okay, I got to take this day by day to figure out what I want to do with it?
No, I'm always about the anyone who wants it can get it.
Yeah.
The same way you're saying with music, I got to lead by example. I have to be the guy that leads the division. I have to be the guy that's the example. The first term in our job title is professional wrestling. I have to lead, whether it's in the ring, whether it's outside the ring, doing interviews, doing media, anything. I have to lead by that example, but I also have to elevate my competition. I'm not going to stifle them. I'm going to make them rise to my level, and then I'm going to go a level higher so that they can't catch me.
That's what I'm talking about, bro. Like, if you think about your journey and how we met, right?
Yeah.
Because we first met, you was still up north when we met.
Yeah, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you were still in Pittsburgh, and was you just getting started when we met?
Yeah, I think I was maybe like 2 years in. It was the Rev Ron Hunt who was.
Word! Shout out to Rev, man. Yo, I did so many of these. I done forgot like a lot of those stories on how we met. But Rev linked us up.
Yeah, I think it was Rev and maybe PB Smooth, who is now Pretty Boy Smooth.
Right.
Full extent.
Right.
Yeah, those two guys I know have worked with you. So
Word. That's dope, man. So we made the Apex of Combat track years ago.
Yeah.
And that was young Teasy, man. I was in a different zone. I'm in a different zone now. I'm more experienced. I'm more seasoned with it.
Yeah.
But back then, man, yours was especially at the time was one of my favorite ones because, when you were going by that, it challenged me creatively on what I could talk about when I was making your record because it was a very different way that I tried to do it. I tried to make it in a sense of something where it could relate to the person and who they are. But for you, and with you having a martial arts background and stuff like that, it challenged me on what to talk about. So now to see from 2017 to where we are now to 2024, not only both being AEW associated, but seeing how far we've come, bro. Like it's just a surreal feeling, bro. Now my dog got a championship. You know what I mean? We didn't came up, bro, and now to see how far this goes from the relation of where we at. So what is in your opinion the relationship between music and wrestling? Not just hip hop, but just music and wrestling. What's your opinion on that?
I think there are so many similarities between the art of wrestling and the art of music. From the way the business works, like you come up in music, you come up in wrestling, you're not making much money, you're doing these things, you're doing the long drives, you're just trying to get on the show, you're trying to get your name out there. So I think from that perspective, they're extremely similar because you're going through the same struggles. It's just a different thing. You're on the stage or you're in the ring. Very similar in that sense. And I remember very early on in my career, I did a seminar with a legendary wrestler named Samu. Was part of the Samoan dynasty.
Shout out to Samu, man. Shout out to the Wild Samoans, whole NOI family.
Yeah, one of the things he talked about was the similarities when it comes to a rhythm in the ring and a rhythm in music. So when we hit the mat, it's called taking a bump. So you hit in these mats, you're trying to create a rhythm, you're trying to create a flow in everything you do. So when you string things together, it moves, and it's still a sport, it's still violence, but you're also trying to please the crowd. So these things have to go hand in hand. So I think music and wrestling have all those things connected, but as well as the characters, the personalities. One of my favorite artists is MF Doom. The character,
shout out to Doom, man. Rest in peace.
Yeah, the personality that he's created from being the villain and all the different aspects, like Metal Face, Metal Fingers, King Ghidorah, Victor Vaughn. He has all these different versions of himself that mean something different. In professional wrestling, we have different versions of ourselves. We go through this journey and we change, we adapt, we evolve. And I think that's another thing that's very similar is the art, development, the rhythm that goes for music and pro wrestling.
Do you feel like Doom, for example?
Yeah.
Doom inspired, not only the mask that you wear, but just like your wrestling style. When you think of him, like what MF Doom song is playing in your head when you're on the way to the ring? You know what I mean? There's a lot of us as entertainers that a lot of times we have something, a song or something from our favorite artist that sticks with us. Like before I go on stage, before I'm always performing, I'm always playing DMX Slipping. I'm slipping, I'm falling. I'm always playing that song. It's a deep, sad song, but it just puts me in perspective on life.
Right.
So every time I'm about to go out and to perform, I'm always playing Slipping by DMX. So what is there any MF Doom song you're playing before you go out there? Or any song that sticks in your head?
It changes all the time. Like I'm someone that doesn't necessarily have a routine specifically when it comes to music. It's just based on my mood. Sometimes I'm a very R&B heavy guy.
Right.
Sometimes I'll listen to MF Doom's Doomsday with the Sade sample, which is like the song that got me into MF Doom, but I also listen to Con Carne, which is one I'm a big fan of. Then there's times I'll listen to Lupe Fiasco's Kick Push. So it just changes all the time. I always listen to different things. Nerd, the Neptunes.
Absolutely.
I'll listen to Wu-Tang Clan. Tiger Style is inspired by a Wu-Tang Clan song. So
okay.
There's so many different things that I listen to. So there's not necessarily a set thing. It's just the mood. It's how you listen to music. It's just feeling the mood.
Right. So if we're talking about Wu-Tang. We're talking about Wu-Tang. We're talking about Pharrell. First of all, in my opinion, I think Pharrell's my favorite producer to ever do it.
I agree.
I think Pharrell is the most diverse and the most universal producer. And no disrespect to anybody else, but Pharrell can make anything for anybody.
Right.
He can make street stuff. He can make soul stuff. He can make pop stuff. From Clips to Pusha T to, Snoop Dogg, Charlie Wilson, you name it. The man can make, make music for anybody. So I understand that. So let me give you my opinion. It's going in the reverse. A lot of times when it's funny. This is gonna sound crazy, but I think you'll understand.
Yeah.
I kind of look at my theme music career in evolution to The Undertaker.
Okay, yeah.
When I first came in, I was there, and then years later, I'm in the big evil stage of my career now. You know what I mean? I'm in the big evil. Yeah. You know what I mean? The big with the biker. I'm biker taker right now. Yeah. Decade of Destruction. That's how I think.
I feel it, yeah.
And I connect that to music when I'm marketing and stuff like that, and that's how I keep myself motivated is through reinventing myself.
Yeah.
Because at a certain point, if you don't change it up, then it can backfire.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? And I think that's why you're a champion now, because you knew how to switch it up, but you also knew your lane and what you were good at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So as an entertainer, and not only in wrestling but in life, how do you maintain that, knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are to be able to succeed?
So I know who I am. I know what I'm about. I know what my goals are in professional wrestling, and I've always maintained the idea that I need to stick to that. There's always going to be opinions or thoughts about what you can do, and I think you take those opinions, but you take what works for you and apply it. For me in wrestling, something I wanted to do that was not necessarily shot down, but people didn't really understand it, was wearing a mask only during my entrances, especially, like you said, as a black man. A black man with a tiger mask is not a very common visual in pro wrestling.
Right.
And it's well, why not? I think everybody follows this pattern in professional wrestling, and a lot of people are afraid to escape it because they don't know what's working, or they're told that doesn't work. But you don't know it works unless you try it, and then wrestling evolves. Everything evolves. Art evolves. Music evolves. And you have to stick to who you are about changing these things. With my mask, and I came into AEW, it was very, I don't want to say playful, but it was a softer style design. As I've gone through AEW, I've learned I have to be more violent. I have to be more aggressive if I'm going to keep my spot here. So the current mask you see me with now, there's sharper fangs, there's claw marks, all these things, these imageries that represent who I've become and the wrestler I need to be to stay at this level. Also, even the things I wear, I wear a singlet, but I'm not wearing it up.
Right.
That's a reference to a Japanese wrestler, Masato Yoshino, who I'm a big fan of, but also doing things my way. A singlet is usually connected with a great technical wrestler, Kurt Angle, other guys like that. Mm-hmm. I'm a technical wrestler, but I'm my own style, so that's why I wear it down. I used to wear a baseball jersey. Then I saw other people start wearing baseball jerseys, and not to say I was the first one, of course, but it became so much of a trend. I was I need to switch this up. How do I make that different? I started wearing jackets that I painted myself. Now I wear this puffer coat that I paint myself, and that's another way for me to express who I am. All of these things make up who I am as an individual, and that's why it's easy, because it's me being me, but it's me figuring out how to do it in a unique way.
So, this is a great segue. So, me as a musician, the main thing that I get into outside of it is collecting video games.
Yeah.
That's my thing. I collect any system. I have every system in my house. Yeah. It's just sitting there, but I just collect it because that's my thing.
Right.
So for you, on the outside of wrestling, is painting, right?
Yeah.
So how did you get into that, and what do you you go to galleries, you go to art galleries, you sell your paintings? What got you into that? Because that's very interesting. That's actually cool. You do something outside of wrestling to sink your teeth into.
Yeah. It was a journey to get to where I am now. So when I first got into art, it was when I was a kid. My mother was encouraging, my dad was encouraging, just draw. Just give me a pencil and a piece of paper, just draw, let me do my thing. That's what I did. And before I even discovered what pro wrestling is, I wanted to be a cartoonist. I wanted to be specifically character design, even though as a kid I didn't know what that was. I just wanted to draw cartoons. As I got older, I discovered pro wrestling, and that became where I wanted to go, but I never left art. I would always draw. I would always like color, do things like that. Painting was actually the one thing I didn't like doing, because painting is something where you have to understand that you don't have as much control as you want, because the way painting is, like with water, acrylics, oil painting especially, which is something that doesn't dry and it continues to move. So that was something I stepped away from for a while. I stuck with the drawing. I learned graphic design on my own. I just taught myself through YouTube tutorials and things like that because I wanted to learn.
Shout out YouTube.
Yeah. I went to college for a little bit to learn a little bit more, but for the most part, I taught myself how to do all this stuff digitally. And then it was about maybe 2 years ago. I grabbed a painting, like a canvas, grabbed some paint, and I just started painting. I painted a Jushin Thunder Liger with a garden behind him. And the reason I did that is because it's things that I love. I love nature. And when I was in Pittsburgh, I didn't experience nature as much as I do here in Florida, like the tropical climate and all that stuff. And I realized how much I appreciate these things. Professional wrestling, Jushin Thunder Liger, and suit. To me, luchadors and suits is the most fire aesthetic in pro wrestling. I don't know why, but like looking at El Santo, Blue Demon, all these guys in suits, I was like, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. I want to get to that level.
Right.
But that represents like a comfort and luxury and art. So once I did that first painting, I just kept going. And I kept going, and I kept going. I kept making paintings, and they picked up. And then now I can say pretty soon I'll have my own gallery at some point. I'll have my own exhibit somewhere because I put in that work. And that also came with maturing and realizing, okay, I can't control this paint, but I can at least see a vision where I'm trying to go, and I can work with the art, work with the painting, and then something will come out that's beautiful.
That's actually great. You know, it's funny, right? Because if I relate that to music and my ascension and what I do, I write my best songs when I am literally sitting in the house and playing video games. And randomly, it's either some people like. Sometimes it could be when I'm in the gym.
Yeah.
But a lot of times I'm just trying to get my health right, and I'm not really thinking about it. Either I'm on a bike ride or I'm sitting down playing a video game, and something just pops in my head, an idea. I swear I could be sitting there just playing a video game, and a random song idea just pop in my head. Like, it's funny because I tell people that when it comes to my music that's not wrestling, I'm like Kendrick. You might not get an album from me for like 2 years, 3 years, because I gotta live. Yeah. You know what I mean? I gotta live. I gotta have something to talk about. Like I just recently released my album in June, and that album took. I was in here. We did it. It literally took like 3 years. Yeah. Because I had to focus. You know. So I understand that dynamic of your painting and having that gallery, because that in a way helps your wrestling. Yeah. You know, it gives you different ideas. Yeah. Different concepts. It gives you different ways to look at the business in a different way because you have that creative outlet. Do you feel that, even on a personal note, just to ask you, do you feel like the lack of, I would say, other hobbies can hurt other people in wrestling because they don't have that other outlet if they're just particularly focused on that?
I think it can hurt. I don't think it always does, but I think it helps having a hobby. It helps having an escape from your thing that you love. Pretty much all of us, when we got into professional wrestling, it was something that we loved. It's something that we want to do for the love. Our goal was to make a living and things like that. But once it becomes something that it's your living and your life depends on like doing this, there's a level of pressure that's added to it. So then it's hard to step back and enjoy that moment. If you have an escape, which for me is my art, it allows me to like take a step back, realize, hey, I'm doing what I want to do when I was a kid. I'm doing what I love. And then I can get back into professional wrestling with a new perspective, a new light, a new feeling to it. I feel refreshed. When I go off and do a painting, I'll turn off my phone, whatever, do my thing, play my music, focus on that. I'm not a wrestler in that moment. Wrestling might influence my art, but it's not the thing. It doesn't put a pressure on that, if that makes sense. Right. And then I can go back into wrestling, and then sometimes I get frustrated with my art. I have wrestling to escape that. So they balance each other out. I have an escape from one another when I need it.
That's great, because if you look at it, some of the most successful people in the world that we can say, whether A-list celebrities or whatever, not their main thing, they always have something else. Yeah. Well, I noticed that, and I'm not saying this I don't mean this in a bad way towards people, but sometimes when people are just so linear focused on one thing, it can kind of drive them crazy. Yeah. Because they don't have that outlet. Like for me with music, It is my expression, it's my therapy, but I also have to live life outside. I have to turn the world off. I have to turn off wrestling. Yes, wrestling fans, I have to turn off wrestling. And I have to live.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I have to just kind of be out in the world, go out in nature, hang out with family, hang out with my kids.
Right.
You know? So give me, if you were, stuck somewhere and you only could take 5 albums with you. In any genre, what 5 albums are you taking with you? So yes, this is basically Teasy's top 5. What is your top 5 albums that you're taking with you?
So the funny thing with me is I love music, but I'm terrible at remembering the specifics. So like you might have to help me out a little bit with like I know this song, but I don't necessarily know what album this is on.
Okay, then let me ask you this.
Okay.
Give me, instead of albums, give me your top 5 favorite artists' songs from one person. How about that?
Top 5 favorite artist songs. So right now, I would say I have 2 favorite rappers. It's Larry June and Tyler the Creator.
Larry fucking June. Bro, if Larry June, if you don't get some money listening to Larry June, you a sucker. I'm sorry to interrupt this. I have to say, Larry June.
No, I agree.
You are godsend. The Great Escape with you and Alchemist, crazy.
Yeah.
He just released one. You listen to the new one?
I was listening to it on the way here.
Bro, I swear to God, Larry June will have you looking at stock investments. He will have you want to start a business. He will want to have you come together and link up with a team of guys and get in a group meeting and be like, how are we gonna make some money? He gonna have you not worried about that female you don't need to be worried about. Yeah. Dog, that dude is great. So I don't mean to interrupt you. So what?
No,
so
I get it.
What is like? Let's get to the songs first. Then we'll go into more about Larry June.
Yeah.
But what is your favorite songs by them? Both of them. Let's get both of them.
So from Tyler, I would say, "What's Your Name?" Because I think "Call Me If You Get Lost" is one of my favorite albums in the past few years.
Absolutely.
I would say that one. He has the what's the song with Frank Ocean? Eyes wide open so he can't see.
Yeah.
I love the melody on that one. I'm a big fan of that one. From Larry June, he has a recent song, "Cleaning My Spot," off the new album. And like you were talking about it, like he has you want to do all these things, like just clean your house, and how good it makes you feel.
I'm telling you, I'm telling you.
That's a big one. Smoothies in 1991, which is like the song to me for Larry June.
Absolutely.
I'm a big fan of that one from the samples. And then I'll go to an album. The album that really got me back into music, because there was a point in my life where I wasn't listening to music, was Kanye West's Graduation.
Flawless.
Yeah.
Flawless album. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember where I was when I first heard Graduation. I was a freshman in high school. Yeah. So this time, 50 Cent, Get Rich or Die Trying, and the Graduation came out like right by each other. And I'm like, yo, what is going on? When I heard that, I was like, yo, I man, to this day, it's phenomenal projects, man. So even with like a Larry June or a Tyler the Creator, if you could have one of your artists make your dream theme song, right? Let me ask you this. I think I kind of know where you're going to go from what you said, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Okay.
A producer that's going to produce it, and who's rapping, singing, who's on it?
That is such a tough question, because there's 2 sides of who Lee Moriarty is and like what kind of music I listen to.
Hey, just to say, this cheat say face of the heel side, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, the face of the hill.
Yeah.
So like produce, definitely Pharrell.
Yeah.
And I think music-wise, Tyler the Creator, because I think he can both rap and sing. He's found his lane with his music. It's Al Green in the style, so I would say him. And then the other side would be Denzel Curry, because like
fire,
the trap metal sound.
Dude's a legend.
I'm
man.
a big fan of that. So
he's so underrated.
Like guys. Yeah,
so underrated.
I listened to his new project and I love that one.
Yeah, man. The great thing about guys like that is they're like, I notice when I talk to you and other guys that I know, is that soulful music that means something. One thing about a Tyler, one thing about a Denzel, one thing Isaiah Rashad, Larry June, they're gonna make something. They're gonna make something that means something.
Yeah.
It's not just gonna be, it's not just not going to make any sense. You know what I mean? There's always going to be a point to the music. I feel like with music nowadays, a lot of people are just making stuff. And I don't know if I'm just an old guy on the lawn at this point. I don't know if you agree with me.
I don't think so, because just yesterday I watched Tyler, the Creator's recent interview that came out, I think Spring Hill, and he was talking about that same thing. A lot of musicians, and I've heard like Joe Budden and other artists say the same thing too. Music today has like gone the route of not as much musicians but content creators.
Yes, 100% correct.
So sometimes it feels that way, whereas people, not to say that they don't appreciate the art of music, but they don't necessarily understand it to the level what artists maybe back in the 2000s would have. There are definitely ones, like you were saying, the soulful ones, but sometimes that's just, it's a money-making thing.
Here's my philosophy, right?
Yeah.
In the 1960s and 70s, it was mainly black men.
Mm-hmm.
And we all had to know how to play an instrument.
Mm-hmm.
Or somebody had to sing.
Right.
But somebody had to know how to do guitar, somebody had to know how to do piano, somebody had to know how to do bass. And they were all world talented, and it was, of course, you know what I mean, not getting into the business side, they wasn't making a whole lot of money, a lot of them. Mm. But it was 8 people in a band, and everybody had to know how to do something. Mm. Hey, bro, you look like you could be a great bassist. I'm gonna play guitar. Who's the best singer out there? Everybody sing a note, and let's see who got the best note. Okay, you're the singer, and it was talent. I feel like with music, I feel like with LL Cool J, he said a very great point. He said music now, guys now are very smarter with how their brands are and how they put things together and how they do things. But back then, guys were more, I would say, musically talented in the sense of what they knew how to play and do. They could play 3-4 different instruments. Like Prince could play anything.
Yeah.
So I feel like that dynamic has changed. So let me ask you this: what in hip hop for you? As in, you've mentioned Tyler, you've mentioned Denzel. What does it take for somebody to say? What does it take for you to say, okay, me as Lee, I'm a fan of this dude's music. What makes you give them a chance? It could be anybody, underground rapper or anything. What makes you give them a chance? What do you have to hear with your ear to like it?
For me, it's definitely a melody. Like, it has to have a pleasing melody. So I think people have a good ear for beat selection is important. So like Larry, Tyler, they have these things, but also something that those guys do, and all these artists, like you said, Isaiah Rashad, I'm a fan of, they paint a picture with words. Like, you can visualize the story they're trying to tell through their words, their melodies, their beats, their instrumentals, all these things. And that is something that draws me to an artist or a musician immediately. Is when I hear this, I see a vision of what you're trying to tell. Like, it's like I'm watching a movie while listening.
That's funny, because as I get older and I like recognize kind of like where I want to go musically after all this time, the challenge for me is to have my fans grow up with me, because the wrestling fans have grown up with me. So now I want people to hear my life and have them grow up with me. Like, I'm not naming any names because I got relationships, but I feel like as people grow older, their music doesn't grow with them. I feel like they're still trying to make music for 20-year-olds. And, like, bro, you're 40, bro. Like, don't, like, you make music you're supposed to make, but don't cater to the, like, kids. You know what I mean?
I've heard a Schoolboy Q interview that says something very similar to this, yes.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I'm not saying don't have fun and don't build on what you want to do, but make music that reflects where you're at in your life.
Yeah.
And it's always really like, I always say this because it's funny. Like, if you put a beat on right now and you say, yo, freestyle, and I freestyle, 23-year-old Teasy would kill me right now. Would kill me. But if you say sit down and write a song, I would kill 23-year-old Teasy.
Yeah.
Because I was more raw. It was more like, because that's how I learned how to rap. It was just put a beat on, bang on the lunch table, back in the days type thing. That's how I learned. But I learned through perspective that, you know, I want to be able to formulate a song. And I think that's kind of the point I'm bringing up is I want to be able to hear something.
Yeah.
Something I could relate to, something that I could feel. And for you, I think with wrestling, it's a great thing because you're a young guy, man, and you're in ROH AEW, and now you have this. And a lot of lot of people in the wrestling world, a lot of young black kids and boys and girls relate to you now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You, Swerve, people that are, or when they're tag team champions, world championship, pure wrestling champion, people that, Athena, people that are champions, they have someone to look up to. So do you feel not only that, but that responsibility as well of knowing that the kids now look up to you because you're in a rare light as being one, not only win this specific title, but you know what I mean, your responsibility now for the children. How you feel about that?
That goes back to what we were talking about earlier, like being an authentic version of yourself and being individually you. I'm the wrestler that I wanted to see when I was a kid. I'm the wrestler I wanted to be when I was a kid. Because I know there are other black kids out there that want to be a luchador, but maybe someone's like, you're not a luchador or whatever. I know there are other black kids out there that want to express their art and things like that. Want to get into professional wrestling and be who they are. Because there were wrestlers that did that for me. So there's someone like Keith Lee who's openly shows his love for anime. There's someone like Kofi Kingston. Kofi Mania is one of the greatest moments in wrestling history for me.
I cried, bro.
In my opinion, Bryan Danielson is the greatest wrestler of all time. Kofi Kingston stood toe-to-toe with him at WrestleMania and won and had this crazy moment. ACH, another one who's someone who's inspired me from his love of anime and things like that. I'm an anime fan, but I'm an art fan too. And like to be able to express myself openly without, like, you were judged in my era as a kid if you like wrestling or anime. Like it had to be kind of a little bit of a secret, but now it's been more universally accepted. And I just want to make it easier for people to be accepted who they are when you look like me.
That's great, man, and that's phenomenal because a lot of people sometimes when they have success, they don't understand what their role is, and it changes. Once you get this, it changes.
Yeah.
Everything changes. The brand changes, the responsibility changes, and also too where you want to go change. So let me ask you this: now that you have this, and 5 years from now, AEW ROH, 5 years from now, where does Lee want to be? Do you want to be the World Heavyweight Champion someday? What is the goals now moving forward for you to keep pushing yourself to be successful? Say 5 years from now, where do you want to be with your wrestling career?
My wrestling career, 5 years from now, I definitely want to be AEW World Champion. I definitely want to be a World Champion. I have so many aspirations in professional wrestling, and the way that I set goals, it's interesting because it's not necessarily long-term. The long-term goals I do have are broad, but it's just an individualistic goal. So like my big goal is to wrestle in Japan one day. That's a goal. I don't put a time limit on it. That's just something I want to do at some point. The Ring of Honor Pure Championship is a goal I had, and I went there. The World Championship, the TNT Championship, the Continental Championship. All these things are goals I have, and I don't put time limits on them because I think once you put a time limit on something, you're putting pressure on yourself. And maybe you're not ready for whatever comes with that at that moment. If I were to put a time limit on the art I create, I'm rushing through it, and then I'm not letting the art be the best version of itself. So I don't want to put a pressure on my career for a 5-year limit. Whereas I just want to say I want to be successful. I want to be at a higher level than where I am now. I want to be better than I was the year before, as opposed to one specific thing. I'll get there when I get there, but I have to do the work to get there, and I have to improve upon myself every week, every month, every year.
You want to know something real deep, bro?
What's up?
What I learned about goals and what helped me get to this point was practicing the law of detachment. Was work hard and have goals, but like let go of attachment to the results. Like just kind of this. You gotta. I tell people sometimes, and I always tell these my young guys that I'm mentoring is like. You don't want to be so goal-oriented on something that you don't let life kind of go with the flow. Yeah. Because, like they said, I'm not trying to be super religious, but they said, if you want to make God laugh, make a plan, right? Because he's always gonna throw roadblocks, or he's always gonna have you do a U-turn. You're gonna get there, but just how you're gonna get there is not exactly where you think you're gonna get there. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure you win this title. You knew you was gonna be a champion someday, but probably how you got there, you was like, this wasn't what I was thinking about when I was 5 watching this. No. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like you sit back and you reflect. You're like, I'm a champion, but the way I thought this would go in my perfect mindset is totally different from the way it happened.
It changes quick. I remember the week before I won this championship, I'm in the ring with Wheeler Yuta Claudio teaming with Anthony Ogogo. We were getting booed We are the bad guys. We're the guys they don't like. They don't want to see you win. 6 days later, Friday night, Ring of Honor pay-per-view. I come through the curtain. I'm the guy cheered. Willie Utis the guy booed. It changes that quick. You can't plan for like how someone else is going to react. You can't plan for what someone else is going to do. You can't plan for anything. You just have to be ready for those moments.
That's the wonderful thing about this, man, about being an entertainer that I've learned, and especially with being associated with being a musician to a wrestler. It's like our dynamics are not very much different. It's like I always say, like I always tell people, we're in the same ship, we're just different parts of the boat. Like, especially being entertainers, we're in the same. You know, you guys might be steering the wheel and I might be rowing the boat, but it's in the entertainment industry. It's all the same. We're all on the same journey. It's just we're all in different categories of what we're doing. And, you know, that's great for you to have that moment to be able to not only win the title, not only to be here defending it and talk about it, but the fact that you were, you know, healthy enough to do it. You know what I mean? That you were motivated enough to get there. That everything in your outside life worked out, because there's a lot of distractions that can distract you, that you can enjoy this win, but you're enjoying it. And the hardest thing to do now is not to let that complacency hit in. Yeah. And it's tough because sometimes when I'm making music, I've done so many that it's like, nah, I could do better. Now, my engineer, it's funny because he's behind here, right? So he knows, he calls me Freestyle Teasy sometimes. Because I'll be in here, and he'll be like, that's not, I know you bullshitting, bro. You know what I mean? Because I'll be here, bro. I'll be here doing an hour session, and I'll record, like, right before you came, we did 7 songs in 1 hour. Really? Just cranking them out. Now, today, he didn't say anything, so I did a good job. But normally, if he knows I'm in there, just kind of, he'll be like, all right, bro. He's like, I already know. Like, ain't that right, T?
It's a fact.
he'll be like, all right, Teasy, you bullshitting, bro. He'll be like, oh, this freestyle Teasy today. It's freestyle Teasy up in there. Something body slam. Something. Yeah, here we go. He's looking at his watch. He's like, how long this nigga got in this motherfucker? You know what I mean? So that's how I be, bro. And it's just not getting complacent. Yeah. Staying focused on the goal, staying focused on everything that God has planned for you. And I'm just saying this as a man, as a black man, that I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Because not many people get this. Yeah. And it's hard as a black man in a world that we're in today, not getting super political or talk about anything, but just saying in general, to have this belt, to win the title, and to also feel like you are the man for it. Because I know you feel like you're the man for it. Absolutely. But you also know that this is not the end for you. No. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's way more ceilings to go. It's like I feel like musically, there's way more ceilings to go. Right. My overall goal, just to give you my perspective, is to take wrestling music beyond where it is. I feel like in wrestling music, in wrestling period, there's a lot of the same stuff going on. Yeah. It's the same cycle. Show up here this date. This is the anniversary here. Show up here. Wrestling fans show up here. Do this. I want to take it out. You know what I mean? To another level, to where it's not. If I can get Denzel Curry on a wrestling song, I did my job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. You want wrestling to fit outside of wrestling. Like you want the music. Like it's the same thing with wrestling merchandising stuff. There's sometimes people design shirts for professional wrestling. They don't fit in the context outside of professional wrestling. Like if you're walking around at a basketball game or you're walking around a football game, a concert or something, it needs to fit in the context of the world, not just in pro wrestling. So you're trying to take wrestling style music outside of just pro wrestling and make it for everybody. But it has these wrestling references or these nuances.
Right. Exactly. It's like I'm still here, but I'm out. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you got to kind of balance it because I realize that what we're in is still kind of I'm not saying a cult thing, but it's still, you still talk to people who be like, oh man, I ain't watched that since Stone Cold. Like, you know what I mean? So it's funny because I'll show T, my engineer, we'll be in here, me, Swerve, or whoever be in here watching, and he doesn't watch it, but he'll see certain stuff. He'll be like, oh, okay, that's dope. But getting his perspective for somebody who doesn't watch it it's amazing from watching somebody who is a hardcore fan, just seeing perspectives. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's great to see that, you know, you understand my goal and where I'm trying to go with this, and I understand your position and what you're trying to do, not only with this but in the future. So anytime I'm here with in the Musicology platform, I want to ask people this, because especially people that know me. When it's all said and done, and I hang my hat on this in the wrestling lane, what do you think my legacy is? My personal legacy. You've been around. I'm asking you this because you've been around. You've seen me from the beginning. Mm-hmm. So what do you think when it's all said and done, what my legacy is?
Your legacy is, I think you created an avenue in professional wrestling to add. I think your style of music is distinct to you in the sense that you know it's your song. Whereas I think a lot of people can replicate the sounds. People can't replicate who you are. And I think you've created an area where people can feel comfortable being themselves with their music, if that makes sense. Like, when you made my song, that was who Lee Moriarty is. When you made the Revs or Pretty Boy Smooth song, that's who they are. All these people, who's another one you've made.
STP, the one that Shane Taylor comes out to.
That fits Shane Taylor. Like, all these things fit who the people are, and then it helps them be comfortable in their skin and who they are. I think you've given people an ability to do that, because that's what music is. Music helps people understand who they are even more.
Absolutely. Thank you, bro. And I always, when I do these, I just want to ask people that know me, mm-hmm. where they think that my legacy is, because sometimes seeing it, it's hard to see where you're at outside of yourself.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? And it's asking other people, like, hey, what do you see? Well, you've seen this, especially from the beginning, or you've been there around a period of time to see, you know what I mean? What do you think? My goal in this was always to be the Lil Wayne of this, mm-hmm. in the sense of, like, remember that time when we were young and Lil Wayne was, like, everywhere? He was on everything. That's how I tried to do that. The mixtapes,
I see that too, yeah.
You know what I mean? That was my goal. I was like, okay, I'm not the most talented. I don't look like Chris Brown. I'm not 6 foot. I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not, you know what I mean? But I'm not the most talented guy. Right. But nobody's going to outwork me.
Yeah.
So I'd rather have you tired of hearing my voice than me not doing enough for my potential.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you make your music, it never sounds like you're phoning it in a sense, and that's what I mean. Like, you can hear the emotion, the energy, and every word that you say. It feels like you're locked in for that person making that song. It's not just making a wrestling song; it's a song for that person.
Right, boy. And I tell you, well, we gotta release the editors, because he hears what I'm. Like I said, my engineer hears that when I'm like, we got to, all right, bro, tap in. But yeah, man, when it's done, absolutely, I make sure that it sounds like something, you know what I mean, creatively, that is something that the wrestler can identify with, and something that can last the test of time. So even when they move on and switch it up, switch the song as they should, they at least know that when Monteasy gave them a record, it was something that was stamped to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So in closing, brother, I want to ask you this. Mm-hmm. When it's all said and done for you, and life goes on, and, you know, do you see yourself in that wonderful house with a wonderful wife and some kids, with your art galleries, all your belts, living in Florida, just chilling? Or are you going to be the guy that travels the world and hop in a car, in a van, and just travel the world? When Lee Moriarty becomes the OG and he becomes an old man, what are you going to be doing?
I think the way I see myself is just like it sounds in a Larry June song. I think I'm waking up, gardening. I think I'm making my tea. I think I'm watching Bruce Lee movies, chilling on my imported couch, enjoying my time. And also, I think I'm proud of the work I've done, because what I was taught and what I believe in is making wrestling better than how you found it. That's always what my trainers taught me. That's what my mentors taught me. That's even what my parents taught me in life, is just leave the world a better place than where you found it. So that is my goal, and I think that's what I'm accomplishing. I'm trying to help. I'm trying to do the right things. I'm trying to make this place more beneficial to the people that come up after me, whether they look like me or not, and also the fans.
Where can everybody follow you? Where can everybody, bookings, things like that? Anything, saying you wanna spread out as far as your social media? Anybody can follow you, hit you up for episode 1 of Musicology with Teasy. What's up?
You can find me at the Lee Moriarty, whether it's on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it.
It's Twitter,
cool.
Bro. It's Twitter. Right.
Instagram.
Sorry, Elon.
YouTube,
it's Twitter.
All those Behance for art, all that stuff. I'm all over the place. I'm just trying to expand my creativity, whether it's in wrestling or art, and then you can see it at all these places.
Teasy's Table, Musicology, episode 1, with the pure wrestling champion, my brother, Lee Moriarty. You know the deal. Subscribe, like, comment, things of that nature. At Teasy's Table. Make sure you go there on YouTube for at Teasy's Table. At Teasy Jones. You know, you can hit me up there, man. I respond. No crazy DMs. People are nuts. And make sure you guys keep yourself well. Take care of yourself. This is episode 1, Musicology. Lee Moriarty, Teasy, baby. Salute. You hear me?